Hey guys, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to share a little bit of parenting advice. I'm a dad of two boys, and I have literally met and talked to and listened to and observed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, countless numbers of parents and their kids, and seeing how kids grow up and why they have certain problems and what kind of parenting works and what kind doesn't, and what certain things that parents do cause what kind of things, and seeing the cause and effect, and I've seen a lot of these things, and so I want to share a lot of them with you. And today I just want to share just a little piece, just specifically as it pertains to dads and sons. Okay. So today I want to just talk to you about three things that sons need from dads. And again, these are not everything. This is not all inclusive. It's there are many facets of this and so forth, but I just want to make it very, very simple. And if you're a dad out there, and if you're thinking, I don't know, I don't have a very good relationship with my son. And granted, it is harder to have that relationship. If you spend a lot of years, if you spent the early years of your son's life not really connected to him. He's a teenager now. He doesn't want to talk to you. He just wants to hang out with his friends, and he doesn't really want to give you the time of day. It takes a lot of patience to get that son's heart back. But I've seen that in really, really bad cases. I've seen it happen. And perhaps maybe in another video, I'll share that story specifically about maybe how to win your son's heart back. But today, I want to focus on three things that sons need from their dads. Okay, and these are three T words, and the first one of these T words is time. Sons need your time. Now, I think I can make a whole video just on this one thing. But when I say time, dads, I don't mean that we sit and watch a movie together. Now, once in a while, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching a Netflix movie with your kid, or even going to the movie theater before this whole COVID-19 thing. But if that's all you do, if it's only activity centered, all right, so we're spending some time together, okay, and if that's all we're doing, but we're not really connecting, because it's very possible to do things together but not connect. And so it's important to spend valuable time together, and it's important to spend a lot of time together. Okay, so let me just tell you, I understand dads. You say, look, I'm busy, I got work, I have all the requirements of work and all the demands of work, and then you're asking me to spend more time with my son. And I'm saying that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm a dad myself. I understand the demands that work has and a career has. I worked in the corporate world up until I started this in 2009. So up to 2007, from the time I graduated college in 1995 up to 2007, I worked in the corporate world. I understand what it is to have the demands of work and be very busy and feel like you're always tired. I get it. I understand that. But let me ask you this. When the years go by, and many years go by, and your son or your sons are out of the house and they're married, and you look back and you wonder why your son never comes to visit you, you wonder why they never want to hang out together. Now you're ready. Now you're ready to hang out with your sons, and you're ready to spend time with them. They really don't want to have anything to do with you, and it makes you very sad. It hurts you, and you think, what did I do wrong? What in the world did I do that they don't want to hang out with me? And I want to point you back to this day, decades before, when your kids are still fairly young. Maybe your kids are in elementary school, or maybe like my kids, one's in elementary and one's in middle school. Maybe they're in high school, but regardless, they're still at home. You're gonna go back and reflect back to this time and think, man, I should have done it a little bit differently. Even if I had made a little bit less money, wouldn't it have been worth it if I had spent more time with my kids? Let me tell you this story about this time thing. This was I don't even know exactly how many years ago this was, but this was years ago. And I think it was maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe something like that. And I was in a church auditorium getting some refreshments at the time. And so I had my family, my wife and two boys with me there, and they were running around and getting donuts and bagels and, things like that. So there's this total stranger. I've never seen this guy before in my life. He's a very well-dressed man. It looks like he's probably in his maybe early 70s, maybe late 60s, something like that. But he's a very well-dressed, very professional looking. And so he comes up to me, this total stranger, and he says to me, "You have a beautiful family." And I thought he was just trying to be nice. I thought he was just trying to make small talk, So I smiled back and I said, "Oh, thanks, I appreciate that." And then I was about to, look away, but he wouldn't budge. He just stood there next to me, just stood there. And then I couldn't just walk away. So I stood there and he says, he kind of looks away, it's sort of like looking out into the distance, just sort of looking away. And he says, "Man, I give anything to get those days back, when my kids were your kids' age." And so I didn't know what to say. I had never met this guy. I don't know his background. I don't know if he had kids and maybe something happened to his kids, or I have no idea. I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I just kind of stood there for a moment. And then he was silent, so I felt like I had to say something. So I said, how many kids do you have? And he says, "Oh, I got a couple of kids. They're all grown. They're off and living in other states." And I said, "Okay." I was relieved. I thought I'd hear some traumatic story or something, and he'd get very emotional. But it wasn't like that. It was that he had kids. His kids were grown. They were married and they were out of state, and they were all grown up, and they never come to see him. They never spent. He's ready now. Maybe he's retired. I don't know. I didn't ask all these questions, but maybe he was retired. Seems like he had a lot of money. He was financially well off, I think. That was my assumption. I got that feeling, but he just regretted it. So he kind of got a little teary-eyed, and he sort of he started leaving, and then he says, the last thing he says to me is, "Don't take it for granted. Enjoy the time that you have with your kids." And I said, "I sure will. I don't take it for granted, and I appreciate you saying that." And so, and then I never saw him again. But I don't know. I never forget that little incident because I am very well aware that I have limited time with my kids. I am very well aware that the most valuable and precious thing in life is time. You can make more money, you can't make more time. And so, what he said was very true. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to go on, and I don't want to be 60, 70 years old and regret that I didn't spend enough time with my boys. That would be the worst regret. I don't want to do that. So I spent a lot of time with them. For my own, in my own personal life, in 2007, when my oldest son was born, at the time I was working in the government as an engineer. I was getting paid enough, I was making good money. But I decided, I wake up early in the morning, I leave before my kid gets up. By the time I get home, my kid is pretty much asleep, and I'm doing this daily grind, Monday through Friday. Saturdays, I'm tired. Sunday, I'm thinking about, I got to go back to work on Monday, so I got to go to bed early. I just never have, I feel like I was not going to have any time to spend with my boy. Now, at the time, my first one, he was just born. I mean, he was very, very young. But I just thought in my head, as the years go by, this is not going to be good. I'm going to not even see him grow up. I'm going to be so consumed with work that I'm just not going to be able to witness all the things. I'm just not going to be able to spend maybe just on the weekends a little bit. So I made a very, very big decision. I decided, look, I'm just going to leave my corporate world. I'm going to leave my world of engineering. It's the only world I knew for 12 or 13 years. And I left it. And I decided I was going to do something where I can control my own schedule. Now, what in the world would that be? I don't know. So at the time, people asked me, so what are you going to do? I don't know. So I did a lot of different things. I was a real estate investor at the time. I was also an engineer at the same time. And I was tutoring a few students because I just love tutoring. I love teaching, so I was doing that. And I had some kids from exchange students living with me. I mean, I was doing like 4 or 5 different things. And so after about a year, maybe a year and a half or so, I decided, look, I need to really narrow it down to one thing. And so I settled on the thing that I love doing the most, as much as I love engineering, and that was teaching. So I settled on, I'm going to teach. Now, the funny thing is, at the time, that was the one thing that made me the least amount of money, was teaching at that time. I took a huge pay decrease to leave my world of engineering and decided to teach. And that was many years ago, and now my business has grown and I'm doing great, and I'm so thankful and grateful for that. But when I think back to those days, thinking back, I'm like, man, were you crazy? What were you thinking? How are you going to make this work? But somehow I did, because I made it so I had no choice. And I think that sometimes it takes drastic measures. Sometimes we think, look, here's a choice. I can continue being consumed by my job and not spend time with my kids, or I can make a drastic decision to do something different, somehow, some way, to find more time to spend with my kids. And so over the years now, in the first few years of my doing the business, my kids were very, very young. My second wasn't even born yet. And I worked a lot. I mean, I worked 7 days a week. I worked 363 days a year. I worked a lot. But I knew I had to do that in the beginning to build the business. But now, I mean, I take a lot of time off. I spend a lot of time with my kids. I spend every moment I'm not working pretty much with my kids. And there's nothing else that I'd rather be doing, because here's what I know, that as the years go by, the memories that we make, doing the things that we do together, those are the things that will fill our hearts and minds. It will fill their hearts and minds. I don't want to look back, when I'm 50, 60, 70 and regret that. So number one thing is time. We have to spend time. Some people say, well, it's not so important, the quantity of time. It's more important, the quality of time. And I say, yes, the quality of time, of course, but quantity of time is important as well. So spending as much time as possible with them, I think, is so important. So dads, the number one thing, the number one T, the first T, time. The second thing is talk. Oh boy, dads don't like to talk to their sons, especially their older sons. As the kids get older, it seems like dads just don't know what to do. They just don't know how to talk to their kids, right? And if you do talk to them, it's always around some activity. So did you do that? How are your grades? How was school, son? Did you hang out with your friends? What did you guys do? It's always questions about something that they did. It's always some activity. Okay, you want to go do this, you want to go do that. Now, and that's better than nothing. There's better than nothing, because some dads don't talk to their sons really almost at all, but that's better than nothing. But I'm talking about, let's go a little bit deeper. Do you talk to your sons about their futures, about how you feel about them? Maybe that you said something. You know what's the hardest thing for me to do? One of the hardest things for me to do is apologize. It's hard for me to do that. So I try to not do things that would force me to apologize. I mean, I try my best, and I'm not perfect, so of course I screw up a lot, and I have to apologize. But man, with my kids, even when they were younger, I learned that, I would yell at them, and I thought I feel very bad about that, and so I yell at them, and then I go to my office, and then all day, just all night, I'm thinking about that. Man, I shouldn't have yelled. I shouldn't have, there's no reason for me to yell like that. So sometimes I call them from the office and say, hey, guys, earlier today when I was at home, you guys did this, it wasn't really that bad, but I think I was a little bit stressed out or something, but no excuse. I shouldn't have yelled at you. Well, and it wasn't actually your fault. And so I've apologized to my kids, and I'm just wondering, dads, if we can do that, if we can talk from more of a heart to heart, tell them how much you love them, tell them how much you mean to them, and you teach them things, and and you tell them about how you grew up, and you tell them stories about your life, and you tell them how good they are, and how proud you are of them, and how much you love them. Not just about how are your grades and is everything okay, and it's just sort of a drive-by talk where you just kind of just see him in the kitchen and you say, oh, hi son, you doing all right? Yeah, okay, good. And you just kind of just sitting down and really looking them in the eye and talking to them. And so I would encourage you to do that, because what that does is that makes a connection, a deep connection with your kids, especially, man, fathers and sons. If more fathers did that, we'd have so much less problems in this world. But just talking to your kids. So I'd encourage you to do that. And then the third T, so the first T is time, spend time. The second T is talk. And the third one is touch. And when I say touch, I say touch because it's a T word, but I really mean affection. And again, this is something that a lot of dads are not very good at. Now, some of you dads out there are awesome at this. You guys spend a lot of time and you talk to your, you have heartfelt conversations with your boys, and you show affection. You hug them and you kiss them, and you tell them how much you love them. But this is so important. Now, some of you might think, well, maybe you do that because you got that from your dad. Nothing could be further from the truth, okay? The only affection that I remember, the only physical affection that I remember from my dad growing up is when I was maybe very, very, very young. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like 4 years old, or something, maybe 2 years old, or maybe something, I don't know. I don't know exactly my memory, but I remember this moment when I was very, very young, when I was a baby, really. I don't know why I remember this, maybe because it was so rare, but I remember my dad coming home from work and I was crying, and I think I'm used to him just sort of being frustrated and distracted. But that day he came and he held me and he says, oh, what's wrong? And even as a little child, I remember that for some reason thinking, wow, this is special. This is so not like him. And I remember that sort of that tender moment. The next thing I remember is when I graduated high school, he shook my hand. Okay, so that when I say dads and affection, yeah, there wasn't a lot of that. My dad is very traditional, Asian dad. He, there's no real affection, or certainly no hugs or I love yous. Those kind of things didn't happen when I was growing up. But I decided when I was young that I wanted to be a different kind of dad. I wanted, not that my dad was a bad dad, but it's just I wanted to do some things differently. And so I wanted to show affection to my kids. I wanted to hug them. I wanted to kiss them. I wanted to tell them how much I love them. I wanted to spend time with them and talk to them in a heartfelt manner and make connections with them and memories with them that would last a lifetime. And so those are the things that I realized in my life. Those are the things that I try to do as a dad. And those are the things that I encourage you dads out there to do. I know it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Guys, I know it's hard to change. It's hard to, if you're not really like that, your personality, it's hard to show affection. It's hard to show a softer side sometimes, because we're raised to be tough. We're supposed to be tough, right? Well, I think you can be tough and soft at the same time. You can be tough, just don't be hard, okay? Don't be a hard dad. You can be tough, but you also have to have that soft side, and your sons are looking at you. They're seeing how you're modeling to be a father, as a father. So again, just a quick recap. Spend time with your kids. Spend a lot of time with your kids. No excuses, dads. You just got to find the time. You got to find time. If you have time to hang out with your friends and go do whatever, you have time to hang out with your kids. And number two is talk. Have heartfelt conversations, even if it's awkward. At first it's awkward, but you got to keep going. You can't give up. You can't give up on them. See, it's hard for them to go against the tide and come at you. You got to go and try to talk to them. Okay. And even those sons are like, yeah, I don't want to hug. I don't need you to hug me, Dad. And yeah, I don't need to hear you say I love you and all this. But they love it. I'm telling you. Even if they say they don't want it, like, Dad, why you got to do all that? Why you kissing me and stuff? You don't need to hug me in front of people. But they want it and they love it. Okay. Nobody hates being loved. And then the third thing is time, talk, and touch, affection. All right. So I hope that's helpful. Look, dads, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, if you have any or whatever, anything like that, please leave them below. And I love to hear from you, and I love to hear your stories, and I love to hear your questions or whatever. And I'll interact with you. But I really appreciate you listening and watching this video up to this point. And until next time, please stay well and spend some time with your boys.